The jig is up for Donald Trump and Elon Musk because they can no longer stand in front of federal courts. There's about 12 different lawsuits where the Trump administration has been sued because of Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency and DOGE services and everything else, with all the Department of Justice attorneys purposefully misleading the courts and pointing at the person next to them saying, we can't figure out who the administrator is and we don't know the relationship between the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk, and the OPM. Well, that all came to a crashing halt when Donald Trump decided to do a shout out to Elon Musk at the joint session speech to Congress. We cover it all, and we do it right here on Legal AF After Dark. Take a listen. And everybody that wanted to see the joint address to Congress that Donald Trump did has seen it, or they've seen the Midas Touch versions of it, but let's try to turn it right to the things that matter in the courts of law. Like, what did you make of Donald Trump couldn't help himself, and I'm sure his Department of Justice was slapping their collective foreheads when he had Elon Musk stand up and say, there he is, the head of DOGE, given the conflicting positions that have been taken in the 12 different cases, and the judges getting really pissed off and on the verge of various contempts about what is DOGE, who runs DOGE, who's the administrator of DOGE. You had the press secretary, just a week ago saying, you hounds, why do you keep asking me? We've told you it's this 53-year-old woman in Tennessee that's in Mexico right now on vacation. She's the head of DOGE, not Elon. Don't look at Elon Musk. And now we know it's what we've always known. He's running the Office of Personnel Management. He's running everything. He's stopping payments. He's firing people. What did you make of it? And what did you make of what's happening next in the courtrooms based on that revelation, that confession?
Yeah, I mean, look, last night's whatever you want to call it, speech, rally, whatever it is, was just stunning to watch. Frankly, I actually watched it in reverse. I watched the response by Senator Slotkin first, and just because timing wise, I wasn't available at the time that the speech was given. And boy, is she impressive. What an incredible background she has, too, that she was in the CIA, that she's a public servant, that she's from Michigan, and that she's from a place where both she as a Democrat won and Trump won as a Republican. Her perspective was great. Her delivery was great. And frankly, she just looks like the future of the Democratic Party. But in addition to her as being impressive, I really liked what she had to say. It was common sense. It made sense. And I couldn't wait to then see what Trump said, just to kind of juxtapose it. And, that's like a clown show. And it would be funny, except it's sad because it's obviously messing with our entire country. And it's just really unbelievable how much the rule of law no longer matters. The truth no longer matters. And, it was, and how he used so many props, i.e. people, children with brain cancer, et cetera, to try and make his points. It was really a really unpleasant, difficult thing to watch. But as you said, one of the hardest things to watch is just the blatant disregard for how in court filings they say one thing, but last night he says to the American people, to everybody, that Elon Musk is the head of DOGE. There it is, right there. He says he's the head of DOGE, and there he's standing up. Everyone's applauding, telling him he's doing a great job. I mean, that's exactly what was happening. And the reason that's stunning is, let me just frame this issue a little bit for people so they understand. So the Supreme Court makes it very clear from cases, right, case law that's interpreted, that people who serve in a, quote, continuing position in government and exercise significant authority on behalf of the United States must be appointed consistent with the Constitution's appointments clause, okay? Because there's an appointments clause in the Constitution, and it's part of Article 2. And it essentially sets forth two ways you can appoint officers of the United States. There's principal officers. Okay, those are people who report directly to the president. They must be nominated by the president, and they're subject to the advice and consent of the Senate. Now, that's in the Constitution. For inferior officers, the Constitution allows Congress to give that power to the president alone. So that meaning they don't have to have Senate confirmation. Okay, that person can just basically be hired by the head of the department or by the president or the courts of law. And so is Musk an inferior officer or is he a principal officer? And that's obviously very important as to whether or not he has to be Senate confirmed, about whether he has the authority to do the things that he's doing, whether he has to have hearings and financial disclosures and all the things that any principal officer has to have. And what they said in court was basically that, and this is in front of Judge Chutkan, what they said in court on the, sworn statement on the record, you're an officer of the court. Oh, no, nothing to see here. He doesn't work for DOGE. He's not head of DOGE, nothing like that. But then to have him say in public to everyone, to the American people, that he is the head of DOGE, it's just inconsistent. And Judge Chutkan has reminded the Trump lawyers that there has to be candor to the court, essentially saying, don't lie. But he's lying. And it's just the ultimate gaslighting, right? He says, oh, I didn't say that. I didn't mean that. Oh, but but then he says something else. This is blatant. And I think the plaintiffs are going to have a field day with this. I mean, they're going to run into court. I think one already has run into court. Yeah, exactly. To basically say, look, this is what it is. And I just want to point out one little irony, which is Eileen Cannon said Jack Smith was illegally appointed because he was a principal officer, right? And he didn't have the advice and consent of the Senate, and therefore dismissed, basically said he had too much authority, too much power, reported directly to the president, all that, was a principal officer, and therefore he had to be appointed and confirmed by the Senate. If that applied to Jack Smith, MAGA is just being absolutely disingenuous, applying a different standard to Jack Smith than to Elon Musk. It's just outright blatant for MAGA to hold on the one hand that Jack Smith was improperly appointed because of this principal officer appointments, but not Elon Musk. They're not honest. They're just dishonest brokers and interpret the law and facts as it suits them in their and we know that, right? That's how it's been. But to me, that was the starkest example of that.
Yeah, in fact, that night, that's a very, very good synthesis of inconsistencies in position taking that should end up undermining the Trump DOJ in court. Judges already, as I've said, getting fed up. They want depositions. They want sworn statements. They're granting limited discovery on these particular issues. And because they'll be able to, federal judges and the adversarial litigation process is very good at a number of things. And one of them is to get to the bottom of facts and get evidence provided to courts. And they can do it through compelled discovery and depositions and ordered things. This is what judges get paid to do. So if there's a fact to be ferreted out, it's going to get ferreted out. So this whole shell game that the Trump administration has been playing and intentionally keeping their Department of Justice attorneys, beleaguered as they may be, complaining about being overworked and underpaid and having had a day off since January 20th because there's 95 cases, not my fault, not my problem. They purposely keep the DOJ in the dark so they have increasingly implausible deniability about what is the relationship between DOGE, the DOGE service, Elon Musk, the DOGE administrator, the Office of Personnel Management, who's got their fingers in the pie in terms of hitting the stop button on funding, who's killing the checks, who's firing the people. I mean, we are 45 plus days into this administration, or as I like to call it, the American hostage crisis. And we can't, and judges can't get a straight answer out of anybody. One judge referred to it as so opaque, he can't even figure it out. And then Donald Trump, much to the chagrin, I'm sure, of a forehead-slapping Carolyn Levitt, the press secretary, who said, why you hounds in the media? Why do you ask me questions? Why do you require me to answer? I don't know. You're the press secretary. That's what your job is. That's what the taxpayers pay you to do. know the answers to things. They keep her in the dark, or in the stupid, as I like to refer to it. And then she says, all right, we'll tell you who it is. It's not Elon Musk, or I won't tell you from this podium. That was my favorite. I'm not going to tell. I know. I thought I was in the 5th grade. I know, but I'm not going to tell you. Okay. That's not how that works in court, Caroline. Look, Caroline Leavitt has already screwed up the Trump administration already once over funding issues when she did that improvident social media posting where she said, no, we didn't, reverse course on the president's executive order. We did it on the memo about funding. And every judge jumped on it and said, see, they didn't reverse course. Exactly. Injunction granted. And so that night, Karen, last night, at about 9:50 at night or so, within minutes, one of the cases filed a judge, additional new evidence with the exact from the YouTube and the quote and the pointing and the whole thing in a case involving certain types of federal contractors and workers. So we got that.
Can you imagine if one of us lied to a federal judge like that? We'd get Rule 11 sanctioned in 2 seconds.
I'd get found in contempt within sanctions.
We'd be disbarred. Seriously, lying to the court. This is not a political campaign where you basically politicians are somehow expected to lie and exaggerate and it's just politics. In court, even though it's an adversarial process, you have a duty, obviously, to be completely honest. I mean, it's just unbelievable to me. But the thing is, they say the MAGA says the quiet parts out loud. And
what do you think is going to happen? Let's just play this out one more before we kind of tease our next topics and go to our break. What do you think is going to happen when inevitably, a federal judge allows or orders Elon Musk for deposition? Now, here's where the rubber meets the road, right? The Trump administration is saying he's a special purpose government employee working for the executive branch. He's a executive branch advisor, just like Anita Dunn was for Joe Biden. That's all. Nothing to see here. And they're going to try to put up executive privilege, right? And stop that deposition. And then we're going to be in front of the Supreme Court. What do you think happens there?
I think 2 things are going to happen. I think exactly what you just played out, right? That they're going to cite executive privilege, that he can't be called or to testify. That's number one. I think the other thing that's going to happen is the lower courts are all going to rule that it's clear that he's a principal officer and that he should be appointed with the advice and consent of the Senate. And then let's see what Supreme Court does, right? I mean, that's the big question, because there's no question in my mind about what's happening, about the facts here, and about what needs to happen. But it's just, will the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court has been doing his bidding for so long. At a certain point, when are they going to rein him in? There will be a point where they will rein him in. They have to rein him in, I think. I can't imagine that they're going to allow Donald Trump to run roughshod over the laws of this country, not because they care, but because they would be worried about making new law that could then allow a Democrat to do the exact same thing. I mean,
that's the thing that I don't even understand. I understand what you just said is perfectly right. The fact that Donald Trump is a short timer and a short tracker and has a short time horizon, I get it. And they want to do maximum destruction between the relationship between the government and the American people as they can, and reshaping the government in the 2 years they probably have until midterms and we get the House and the Senate back. But I don't get why they want to empower the future Democratic president, and there will be one.
Of course.
I don't know if I'm hoping it'll be in the next go around. Maybe it's 2 go arounds from now, but there will be a Democratic president. And why do they want to give him all these superpowers out of the United States Supreme Court? That part I never understood. That's always what has kept the Senate in check, the Senate in line. Yep. is because they're worried, it's good for the goose, is good for the gander. Exactly. And if we don't want that for the next guy, but that doesn't seem to be a consideration. Why do you think that is?
Well, because I don't think anyone ever thought Donald Trump or anyone would go as far and as extreme and as lawless as he has. I think everyone thought there are certain unspoken rules that we just don't do and that we don't say. People call them norms, and he's broken every norm. And I think they're going to see that. And I think eventually they will rein him in, because it's just outrageous what he's doing and what he has done. And, frankly, a lot of what he does is very performative, right? All these executive orders and, with his dramatic kind of, here's this, here's that, I'm renaming this, I'm renaming that. I mean, it's very performative. And that's kind of the way he does things, and not as substantive. But these substantive things that he's doing, he's going to be, I think, eventually reined in.
Welcome back. That's a show that we do. It's a podcast called Legal AF. Been doing it for about 5 years now. We're top 10 in the world, and we're at the intersection of law and politics, all because of you. If you know everything about us, Legal AF, you're already part of our audience. We thank you for being there. We're just trying to continue to grow organically. Send that clip off to people in your life. Ask them to join Legal AF on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Midas Touch Network, the #1 YouTube network in the world. I think we're 4 weeks running on that. And it's a full-length podcast, lasts about an hour. Wednesdays, I do it with Karen Friedman, Agnifilo. Saturdays with Ben Meiselas. And then, of course, we've got the new Legal AF YouTube channel. Not so new. We're about to hit our 6-month birthday and cross over the 500,000 subscriber threshold all at the same time. And that's all a testament to you. So until our next Legal AF, and here on the Legal AF YouTube channel, I'm Michael Popok. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.